Mercedes, a team where the only pursuit is perfection, with a story of invention that goes back to the birth of the motorcar itself. The Mercedes story began in Germany's industrial south in the late 1800s, where the race was on to build the world's first motorcar. Hidden in a greenhouse converted into a workshop on the outskirts of Stuttgart, Gottlieb Daimler and Wilhelm Maybach built a compact 1-horsepower engine small enough to fit into Daimler's riding car. Around the same time, Carl Benz patented his 3-wheeled Patent Motorwagen. The world's first motorcar now had a birth certificate. Their innovations revolutionized the world of transport, and in 1926 the companies of Daimler and Benz merged, as the moniker of Daimler Company's production model Mercedes was joined with the Benz name. And Mercedes-Benz would soon take its pioneering foundations to dominate the racetrack. One man stands tall in Mercedes-Benz early years of motor racing. Mercurial race manager Alfred Neubar established a race-winning culture of meticulous preparation, innovation, and marginal gains. Don Alfredo, as he was known, kept detailed notes in a series of little black notebooks as Mercedes pit crews were told to practice changing all 4 tyres simultaneously until they achieved speed and precision. And on track, Neubar developed an ingenious system of flags and boards to communicate vital information to drivers. Mercedes' attention to detail was rewarded with glory on track, and Neubar, now recognized as Formula One's first ever racing manager, would celebrate every race victory in the same way, throwing his hat under the wheels of the winning car. But it was one of Neubar's most marginal gains of all that gifted Mercedes their iconic racing identity. In the 1930s, their race cars were painted white, the designated colour for all cars racing under the German national flag. And at the International Eiffel race in 1934, Mercedes were ready to debut their brand new Charger, the W25. But the weigh-in before the race showed the W25 to be just a single kilogram over the limit. Neubar had the Mercedes white paint stripped off to lose the extra weight, revealing a pure aluminium body of shining silver for race day. Driver Manfred von Brauchitsch drove to victory in a commanding performance at the Nürburgring, and later told reporters that to drive a Silver Arrow is an honour. From that moment on, the legend of the Silver Arrows was born. When the new Formula One World Championship began in 1950, there were no Mercedes cars on the grid. Having been co-opted by the Nazi Party in the years before the outbreak of the war, the company's finances and distribution network was decimated after Germany's defeat in World War II. It was a long rebuilding process, but by 1954, they were ready to return to racing's greatest stage of all. Despite joining the season in round 4, they took the Formula One Championship by storm. Juan Manuel Fangio was poached from Maserati, and after winning on his Mercedes debut in France, the Argentine roared to victory at 3 more Grand Prix to win the Drivers' Championship ahead of his teammate, Jose Froilan Gonzalez. Fangio repeated the feat in 1955, but the Silver Arrow's dominance of Formula One would come to an end almost as soon as it had begun. At Le Mans, Mercedes-Benz driver Pierre Levey crashed and flew into a crowd of spectators, killing 83 people in arguably the worst tragedy in motor racing history. Mercedes decided to withdraw their cars from all forms of motorsport at the end of the season, and it would be over half a century before Formula One would see a Mercedes-constructed car again. The foundations for Mercedes' return to motor racing's biggest stage were laid in the late 1980s and early 1990s as they tasted success in the World Sports Car Championship as an engine supplier to Sauber. They hired Norbert Haug as their new head of motorsport. His brief was to return Mercedes to the pinnacle of motor racing, and in 1993, they tentatively returned to Formula One as Sauber stepped up to Grand Prix racing, financing the Swiss team's engines before officially powering them in 1994. But Haug's task was to win silverware, and in 1995, Mercedes signed a deal with McLaren in a bid to recreate the championship-winning success of the legendary McLaren-Honda partnership. It was a move that paid off in spectacular fashion. By 1999, flying Finn Mika Hakkinen had delivered back-to-back Drivers' World Championships in the new-look Silver Arrows. The team remained competitive in the face of Ferrari dominance at the start of the new millennium, but it was a decade before McLaren-Mercedes would once more see championship success, Lewis Hamilton winning them the driver's title in 2008. But that year was also a time of global financial crisis, sparking a remarkable series of events that culminated in Mercedes' return as a true Formula One constructor. In the face of the economic downturn, Honda decided to leave Formula One. With just weeks to go before the start of the 2009 season, desperate Honda bosses handed over their entire racing outfit to team principal Ross Brawn for a nominal £1. Brawn retained the Honda staff, drivers and factory in Brackley, with a Mercedes engine supply deal approved by the FIA at the 11th hour. What happened next stunned the world. Jenson Button stormed to victory in the Drivers' Championship, and Brawn GP won the Constructors' crown. It was a remarkable success, but for Mercedes, just one thing was missing: the sight of their three-pointed star on the Formula One Constructors' Trophy. And so, under the auspices of Norbert Haug, Mercedes took full control of the reigning champions at the end of 2009. Rather than starting again from scratch, Mercedes had shrewdly bought a team with incredible DNA. This was a squad whose lineage could be traced back to Ken Tyrrell, whose outfit ran Jackie Stewart to 3 world titles in the late 60s and early 70s. Before its Brawn GP and Honda names, the team raced under the British-American Racing banner from 1999 to 2005, during which time the outfit was moved into the high-tech Brackley factory, which Mercedes still call home to this day. So as Mercedes returned as a fully fledged Formula One constructor in 2010, a white car was turned silver once more, becoming the first true Silver Arrow to grace Formula One in 55 years. At Mercedes, 4 words from their founder lie at the heart of everything they do: the best or nothing. Mercedes initially found success hard to come by, but the start of the turbo hybrid era in 2014 provided the perfect opportunity for the engineering might of the Mercedes machine to push their cars to the front of the grid. The Silver Arrows exploited the change in regulations better than any other team, storming their way to their first Constructors' title in 2014 as Lewis Hamilton won the Drivers' Championship.
World champion!
Since then, Mercedes have made it a record-breaking 7 consecutive Constructors' Championships in an unprecedented era of dominance. And from the introduction of their DAS steering system to their black livery supporting the fight to end racism, the team continues to innovate and dominate both on and off the track. It's a lineage of creativity that dates back to the birth of the motorcar itself. These are the origins of Mercedes, the lovers of invention and purveyors of motor racing perfection.